I've been working for QA for 10 years, and in my area was manual fintech area, and I tried different testing domains and almost all varieties of roles inside the QA team, going from intern to the QA team lead. But now I focused on refactoring tickets and refactored code since my team works with such kind of tasks. And today we will discuss what is refactoring, existing testing approach, algorithm, how to work with this kind of tasks, and real-life examples. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we have a typical list of refactoring tickets. For me, it's every time shock when I see these weird words in summary of tickets, extend API or reduce class path. I can't understand how these weird words connect to me. And if you ask any developer how you might check any of these tickets, most likely you you hear something like just check that nothing has been broken, and that's it. And you have to live with it and cope with it. But from a developer point of view, it looks more pleasant and organized. So refactoring is the changing of code without changing functionality. And after refactoring, code is supposed to be more clean, more efficient, it's easy to maintain and understand, and it's easy to debug. So it sounds like a real cool thing for every product and project. Do we have any problems here? Actually, yes. Since we don't touch functionality, we could ask ourselves, should we check it or not? But still, we have to evaluate our product. We have to check that it meets the requirement and it works as it worked previously. So in this case, the answer would be yes, and we have to test it. But here we have a huge palette of ways how to do this, starting from no testing approach, or sometimes developers tell that they could do all needed check-ins by themselves, and at this very moment, lazy inside of me have additional portion of wine. But then, after this glass of wine, we have to move to another extreme where we have full regression testing. I like neither first approach, no testing approach, nor full regression testing approach, because both of them has problems. Let's start from the minimalistic approach, no testing problems. Of course, obviously, we skip testing of functionality here, but this even not the worst thing that could be skipped here. We don't work with risks here. We don't do risk assessment or risk coverage. So we don't have mitigation plans or contingency plans. But full regress approach also have couple problems. And first of the problem is test coverage. If we check changed code with old tests, we have blind zones, and these blind zones has likelihood of appearing of defects, and these are our current problems. But if we still use our outdated test documentation for further checks, it makes our check-ins irrelevant, and it's our problems for future. And also, we have another problem here, and it's possibly unreasonable expensive testing. What do I mean here? For example, in my current project, we have 20,000 of tickets just for regression tests. Of course, it's a great amount of tests, and it's almost impossible to go with all of them. So we reduce for our regular check-ins, we use only 2,000 of tests. 2,000 anyway sounds like a great number of tickets, but still. So in positive scenario, we have this test multiplied by time to implement this test, and we have 300 hours just for checking one refactoring ticket. But it was positive scenario. In reality, we have more tests, as we mentioned, and it's already more than half a year and a half of testing just one ticket. And this sounds ridiculous, and we obviously try to avoid such time spending. So what we have for now, we have refactored ticket and we don't know what was changed under this ticket, and we have no silver bullet approach how to test it. So let's apply logic here and formulate working actions that we could apply to this task. And first of all, we have to clarify the context. The first action would be read the ticket and translate this ticket to human language. You remember my first slide where we have extend the P, something do not need something about class path, all this stuff. We have to understand what was done under this ticket, and to understand it, firstly we have to translate from developer language to any human language. To clarify this, we have to ask questions. We have to understand what was done under this ticket, how it was done, affected zones and functionality, and any other questions that we could ask and we could need for our testing. We have to ask on this stage. We have to ask, we can ask project manager, product manager, developer, anyone who have any information, just catch and ask. Also, interesting question is refactoring goal. Why we need this refactoring? Very rare when you ask this question, or me, but it reflects risky areas, it highlights key points, and also it defines what is the best way to check the changes. Sometimes the answer to this question is awesome. For example, the changes were done based on the code, based on the to-do comment in the code that was left 20 years ago. You see, 20 years, the code is older than some of you here. And it's really impossible to check what was done 20 years ago. But if a tester guy wants to go deep in the functionality, he could ask authors of this code, of course. So to summarize this step, I think the most important step, we have to have solid understanding what was done, how it was done, and why it was done. Then we can go further to step number 2, and it's risk assessment. Here we have to measure our defined changes with two measurements, likelihood and impact. To understand what is it, we can ask ourselves, in first case, what is the probability that changed code could be broken, and what is in the second one, how important would be unworked code in this particular place or product. For example, we have 2 refactoring tickets. In the first one, we have minor order processing changes in trading application, and in the second one, logs were refactored. So in first case, we have small improvements. Of course, we have to check that the improvements also small for us, for QA, as it's small for developers, because sometimes it's very different things. For developer, he could change only one line, and for QA, it means tons of work. For this example, let's agree that it's small improvements. Then we have order processing changes, and this basic functionality for any trading application. So in this case, we have high risky fix. For the second one, first of all, we see that logs were refactored, but we see the context that we changed only logs for user clicks. So we understand that it's small improvement and secondary functionality. In this case, we don't have such a priority issue like the first one. After this, we proceed with risk coverage. We have to understand how we would check changes that we defined on the first step with the priority that we defined on the second step. Not mandatory, but you could use here RC mnemonic that usually used for regression tests. Every letter means zone that you have to focus on while you do your testing activities. So let's go through every letter and check how could we apply it for refactoring tickets. First, R is repaired code. To check code that possibly introduces issues. Usually it's our new or changed code that were done under the refactoring ticket. C, chronic zones. Every application has such chronic zones, and that always broken and provide new and new issues. Let's check it. Risky areas of application should be checked as well. Next, C, core functionality. What is primarily functionality for this application? We have to define this and check this. Recent changes, not only changes under the refactoring ticket should be checked, but also changes in code that stay somewhere near or could be touched or involved in changed code. And the last one, configuration dependencies. We have to check code that depends on configuration, and also here we could think about tests for production. When application with these changes goes to production, we sometimes for refactoring cases we have to think about tests after delivery. So we create this test coverage, and we could implement it like test scenario or test run, test cycle, whatever, checklist, every form that you could apply for your application. Just take this test scenario and go through all these steps. And I think it's step 4, just test it, and it's the easiest step in this list. So to sum up this algorithm, just clarify the context, analyze risks, create test coverage, and implement test phase. How could you apply this list of actions in your life? I offer to go to the real life examples and just check how we go through all these actions. And first example sounds like tool update, switch liquid-based tool to best file creator. How could we act here? Again, back into our list, understand the context. For me, actually, for the first glance, I couldn't understand what exactly mean this ticket, because I don't understand what is liquid-based tool or best file creator. So I have questions. I have a list of questions. You could have some different, maybe you know something about liquid-based tool or best file creator, but for me, and it was real ticket. For me, it was very important to understand for myself what is it, just to provide proper checkings. So my list of questions was created, and then I just went to real guys and tried to get the answers. What is best file creator? It was a tool for run scripts. My script was a wrapper for DB lines, and it serves the purpose to maintain and work with patched version. Why we move it? For this question, I just opened Epic and saw there 30 more or less similar tickets with different tools. So I could understand that we just switch to new tool, and because of that we have to migrate our tools to the new location. Next step, analyze the risk. I still don't know several topics here because I can't understand full script action. This blocked me from defining affected area, and script action affected area blocked me to do risk evaluation. I can't evaluate is it high fixed priority or not very priority fix. How to solve such kind of problems? For example, script action, what we can do here. To find script description or test case or related tickets, we can check usage for the script. We can just go and talk with the ticket developer. To understand this item helps us to clarify and define the affected area. So I can move further and do risk assessment to understand risk of this ticket. For this, in real life, we created shared table with all gathered info for all tools, because there are many, with frequency of usage and priority of them. But any other solution that works for your application are also welcomed and work here. Create test coverage. To create test coverage, I back into our RC mnemonic, and especially to the last C configuration area, because it's exactly what we need here. We move our tools from one location to a new location and have to check that they worked as they worked previously. And comparing output from the one directory with output from the new directory, we could pass this ticket. And in our game, it would be 1-0 in favor of QA. We passed this ticket. But here we have the most typical example of any refactoring ticket. So we have to improve something with replacing something. Let's use our steps and try to understand the context. I have really many questions here regarding the context, and we have to understand every get answer to every this question to move further. But also, God bless developer, he left QA node, and here we understand that in the first one he wants me to check the component start and errors and exception for this component, and in the second he just wants me to check messages in GUI. But here I don't have a clear understanding what kind of messages have I checked here. Because every application have different kind of messages, and in this case the easiest way, and I think the correct way, just to go and ask the developer what he thought when he wrote this. And he, in my case, he clarified the messages, and it was typical info messages in our GUIs that have good test coverage in our test documentation. So we could move to the second step, to risk assessment. As we understand the functionality and it well documented in our repositories, we save here, and we don't have very high risky fix. We could create test coverage. We could check server component starts, check that this component doesn't have errors and exceptions, and check messages in user GUI and admin GUI. So it's a very clear instruction how and what we have to check here. Just take this step, go through them, and it would be a happy end for one more refactoring ticket. But sometimes we have some kind of opposite thing. For example, this example sounds like unneeded lines in server Gradle files. Again, questions for this ticket from my side. What is it? I don't understand. Where could I get the info to clarify my understanding? And of course, I don't know what is Gradle. Let's go through these questions. What is it? Question is too general question. Nobody likes such kind of questions, and developers need them. It needs to be specified, but where could I get the info to specify my question? In this case, I could open pull request, and there I could see that only unit test files were changed, and build Gradle files were changed. Okay, it's some information for me. But what is Gradle is still unknown. But I have the internet access, and the first answer in the Google, I see that Gradle is a build automation tool. Okay, analyze the risk. I have two focusing areas here in this ticket: unit tests and builds run. Since only these files were changed, they are my areas of interest. What could I do this in this case? We can run build, and in this case we either have successful build, and in this case the ticket would be passed, or we have unsuccessful build, and we have a log file with errors and exceptions there, and we could check them. Or we can just skip this, just skip check-ins for this ticket. Why we could do this? Because it's obvious that if something goes wrong, all our builds would be unsuccessful. And for this particular case, we could skip check-ins right now, but of course we to cover our some invisible risks, we have to proceed these tickets already after our regular sanity check-ins for release. So for this moment, we could skip test, but we have in mind, even if we have any problems regarding the tool, we have a person whom we could address our problem. And anyway, the ticket is revised after regular release checks. So, since the score is 3-0 in favor of QA team, and at that time we are the winner. And I hope that these examples show you that we have to work with refactoring tickets wisely. We don't have just to skip them or do full regression. Analysis of refactoring tickets and risk coverage serve the purpose to be effective with less effort, or at least with less time. And actually, all these steps don't require any additional skills or knowledge from you, just ability to read, understand, and ask. That's it from my side, and I appreciate your attention.